You ever step outside and just feel the sun on your skin? It's a simple, everyday feeling. But have you ever really stopped to wonder what's going on there? I mean, how does a physical thing like sunlight actually become a thought or a feeling inside your head? That question right there, that's the big mystery we're going to unravel today. The whole process is this incredible journey from the outside world right into the private universe of your mind. And it all happens in two really distinct, amazing steps. So let's get into it, starting with step one. Okay, so first things first, the journey has to start with raw data. This is the moment the physical world literally makes contact with your body, and your nervous system kind of raises its hand and goes, hey, something's happening out here. And this first part is called sensation. Just think of it as pure data collection. When that sunlight hits your skin, these tiny little cells, thermoreceptors, are just detecting a change in temperature. They're not telling a story or anything, they're just logging the facts, the raw data of heat. But there's a catch. That data isn't in a language your brain can actually understand yet. And that's where this next crucial piece, transduction, comes into play. Honestly, this is where the magic happens. This is the translation step. Transduction takes all that physical energy, the heat, the light, the sound waves, and converts it into the brain's native language, electrochemical signals. It's like a universal translator for your body. Without it, sensation would just be, well, static. So, great. The brain has received the translated data, but a stream of raw data isn't an experience, right? It's just a bunch of ones and zeros. The real magic, the next step, is where your brain takes all that raw input and actually builds the world that you and I experience. And that step is called perception. If sensation is the raw data, perception is the story your brain tells about that data. Your brain gets those signals from your skin, and it doesn't just say, heat detected. It says, that's the nice warm feeling of the sun. It's organizing and interpreting everything to literally create your reality. So here's the easiest way to think about it. Sensation is just the objective process of detecting stuff. Your skin feels heat, that's it. But perception, that's the subjective story you tell yourself about it, a story that gets colored by your memories, your mood, everything. Put it this way, sensation is the note, but perception is the music. So this brings up a pretty fascinating question, doesn't it? What are the limits of our data collection? I mean, how faint can a signal possibly be before we just miss it completely? Let's take a look at the very edge of our awareness. This limit has a name, of course. It's called the absolute threshold. It's the quietest whisper, the dimmest possible light, the softest touch you can detect. And the official definition is the point where you can notice it at least half the time. Anything below that, and for all intents and purposes, it's totally invisible to you. And what's wild is just how incredibly sensitive our senses really are when you push them to their limits. I mean, look at this. We can theoretically see a single candle flame from 30 miles away on a clear night. We can feel a bee's wing falling on our cheek. Our bodies are basically these exquisitely tuned instruments. It's amazing. Okay, so we know the absolute minimum we can detect from nothing. But what about when a sound or a light is already there? How much does it have to change before we actually notice a difference? How much louder does the TV have to get before you realize it? Well, there's a term for that too. It's called the just noticeable difference, or JND. It's that exact moment when you're turning up the volume on the car radio, click by click, and you finally think, okay, now it's definitely louder. That tiny little jump is the smallest change your brain is capable of picking up on. But here's where it gets really cool. That just noticeable difference, it isn't some fixed amount. Our perception is always adapting, and how much change we notice depends completely on where we're starting from. And this perfectly illustrates a principle called Weber's law. Think about it. If you're in a dead silent library, the tiniest click of a volume knob is super obvious. But if you're blasting music on a noisy highway, you've got to crank that thing way up to even notice a difference. The law basically says that the change you can notice is proportional to the original intensity. The louder it is to start with, the bigger the change has to be for you to perceive it. Now, our brain's ability to adapt goes even deeper. Let's walk through something I think we've all experienced. Imagine you put on some perfume or cologne first thing in the morning. When you first spray it on, that scent is powerful, right? It's impossible to ignore. It's totally front and center in your awareness. But then maybe an hour goes by and poof, where did it go? You can't smell it at all. But if you ask a friend, they can probably still smell it just fine. So what happened? What happened is sensory adaptation. See, your brain is incredibly efficient. When a stimulus is constant and unchanging, your brain just gets bored with it. It essentially says, okay, got it, perfume, old news, and it tunes it out so it can focus its attention on what's new and different. It's not a bug, it's a feature. So we've seen how our brain filters, interprets, and adapts all this sensory information. But every now and then, in the process of building our reality, the wires can get, well, a little crossed. And it's absolutely fascinating when they do. I love this quote because it hints at a very real condition. Imagine for a second, what if you could see sounds? Or what if numbers had their own unique tastes? Well, this is synesthesia. It's when one sense, like hearing, automatically and involuntarily triggers an experience in another sense, like sight. So a musician with synesthesia might actually see the key of C major as a bright, vivid yellow. For them, it's not a metaphor, it's not a creative description, that's their genuine, real perception of the world. It's such a powerful reminder that what we perceive really is a construction of the brain. And that brings us to one last, kind of mind-bending thought. We've seen that what you experience, from the sun on your skin to the colors of music, it isn't the raw world itself. It's your brain's unique interpretation of it. Your reality is filtered, translated, and custom-built just for you. So the big question is, if your brain is the architect of your reality, how much of the blueprint are you not being shown? What else is out there that we are completely blind and deaf to?